Welcome to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I'm your host, Shade Curry, and I believe every divorced woman deserves a romantic relationship where she feels safe, loved, and cherished. You can create the most amazing life after divorce, and I will teach you how.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I'm your host, Shade Curry, and I am recording this in 2025, but you are listening to it in 2026. So I'm going to start out by saying Happy New Year. I hope the new year brings you all of your hopes and dreams coming true. I hope it is your best year yet. Happy New Year. So you might be wondering why I sound so strange. I have had the worst flu over the holiday season in December. Now I am recovered. Everything is fine. My voice just hasn't gotten back to where it was. So I had every single symptom you can imagine when it comes to the flu. And I'm so thankful to be back and to be well, and very thankful for my health. Nothing gets you appreciating your health as much as having a bout of this kind of flu. So that's why I sound like this, but I'm fine, and this is going to be a short episode anyway. I just wanted to come on and set the tone for the podcast for 2026 by talking about our name change. So depending on where you are listening to this episode from, you will notice that the name of the podcast has changed. And if you didn't notice, you'll probably see the changes over the next day or two, or over the next week or two. So the podcast used to be the Dating After Divorce podcast with Shade Curry, and now we have expanded the title to Your Extraordinary Life and Dating After Divorce, also with Shade Curry. And this episode is really just to talk about what the name change was about, why it came about, and what you can expect in 2026. So I really started thinking about it towards the middle or end of 2025. So I have, for those of you who are familiar with my work, I am a life coach. I help women date after divorce. We have the Dating After Divorce podcast, and we have the Dating After Divorce Collective, which is the group program. But I also have a one-on-one coaching practice where I help a wide range of clients on a wide range of issues, but mostly centered around divorce. So some of my private clients are women who are dating after divorce. Some of them are women thinking about divorce. Some of them are women right in the middle of divorcing, healing after divorce. As you know, divorce is this whole journey, and there are so many phases in between. And so for the podcast and for my public-facing marketing, I had really focused in on dating after divorce, and I would just take referrals just from my network for people who wanted to work on other parts of the journey, just so that I could focus my content on dating after divorce. But then I had a couple of referrals come to me in 2025, and they had wanted to pass on some content. They were like, hey, do you have any content around this? And I was like, well, I mean, I've got some, but nothing solid, nothing like, podcast episodes kind of breaking down my philosophy and my process of walking people through the divorce journey or healing after divorce and things like that. A lot of what is available publicly is my story and dating after divorce. And so I kind of started noodling on it because probably about 50% of my business revenue comes from, those people. And I was like, oh, it really does make sense for me to have a forward-facing content around divorce. And I really do have a lot to say, and a lot that I've been through, and a lot of my own stories and my own principles and frameworks that I use around that. I just have never put them out there the way I have about dating. And so I didn't really want to change the podcast, though. So that was the hard part. So that's why it took me this long to make the change, was I was like, oh, but dating after divorce is just such a great niche. And, I love that it's concentrated and people can just come here for exactly what they want. And so anyway, I've gone back and forth. And finally, I was like, girl, you just got to make a decision. And I made a decision to expand and have a mixture of the content on the podcast. So that's kind of what you can expect. Hopefully the podcast episodes, for those of you who don't want to hear a whole ton about divorce and you just want the dating content, my hope is to label the content in a way that makes it easy for you to find what you are looking for. However, the month of January 2026 will be a focus on divorce. So I won't have a lot of dating content in the month of January. And that was why it was very important that I put this episode out so that you knew what to expect. It is not a switch from dating after divorce to now this is a divorce podcast. It is actually a pause to sort of prime the pump of the divorce content and then switch back to a mix for the rest of the year. So for those of you who listen specifically for dating content, I will still have a ton of dating content on social media, Instagram, Facebook, my stories, some on LinkedIn. But the podcast episodes coming out this month will be on divorce. And if you have friends who are divorcing, please let them know that they can tune in for the month of January to kind of get the full scope of my thoughts and my process and my frameworks on helping women through the divorce. Again, when you think about my dating content, it does deviate from a lot of other dating coaches that you see out there because I just typically tell you exactly what I'm thinking and how I think different scenarios should be approached. I do the same thing with divorce. And I think you'll get to know a little bit more about that as you listen to the episodes. I don't think I have a name for like my approach for it, but I would say that overall my thoughts around divorce are like, you're a woman, you can really do whatever it is you want. Except that it's so hard to really figure out what you want because there are so many voices. Women are just subject to so many voices coming from so many places, coming from childhood programming, coming from our social circles, our religious programming, societal narratives, misogynistic voices. There's just so much that can make it hard to zone in on what you actually want for you. And when you add on top of that, the fact that women are handling so much work just to be able to pay your bills, and then you are adding on the house domestic labor that tends to fall on women. Then you have the relational labor also tends to fall on women. It can be really hard to create the space to figure out what you really want and what is actually right for you. And you might have people in your life, children, parents, friends, whatever, just constantly coming at you, pulling on you and not giving you that space. And so my overarching philosophy is that we need to find that space, because I can tell you what I went through and how I did it, but that might not be right for you. And a lot of people will put out a process and say, well, everybody should do it this way, but I don't believe that. I really believe in the individual person and what is meaningful to them, and really getting to the bottom of that before making decisions. So you'll kind of see how I've applied that to a lot of the work that I do around divorce. Interestingly, and I don't know if you guys know this, I started out as a divorce coach, not as a dating coach. And so my divorce, started out in 2015. And by 2016, when I was, I had gotten on my feet, I had done a lot of healing work, I had to piece together a lot of my healing journey and rebuilding journey, my confidence journey, my own sort of like motivational journey to get myself to take action on the things I believed in. I had to piece that together for the divorce journey. It just didn't exist. That was about 10 years ago. It didn't exist specifically for divorce. Or if it did, I didn't find it on the internet because that was where I was looking. I just could not find anything that spoke to the specific things I was going through. And so I started out helping women go through divorce. That was what my first several clients as a coach were all. Women who were thinking about divorce, women who were going through divorce. I had started putting my story out there on podcasts and on Facebook Lives, and that's how those early clients found me. And so I was a divorce coach for so long, And then at some point, I was dating, and then I was talking about dating, which is really just kind of what I do. I just kind of put my story out there, and people were like, oh yeah, I like the way you do that. Can we work on something for me? At least that was, at that time. And so I just got so much business around dating that it made sense to work on dating itself. And there was also a gap in the market at the time. There was literally nobody talking about dating after divorce. Now there's a lot more, so which is a good thing, I think. Lots of people need help, and it's good to have more people helping them. And so there was just that gap in the market where there was no podcast called Dating After Divorce at the time. And I was happy to fill that gap in the market. And I think I will continue to fill that gap in the market, even as more people enter that field. That's totally fine. But I do love the work that I do with women who are thinking about divorce and divorcing. I do see the unique perspective that I bring, because I give women permission to find what truly works for them. This year alone, I've worked with like 2 or 3 women to stay in their marriages because financially it did not make sense for them to leave. Like, they would be way worse off, safety-wise, survival-wise, in so many areas if they'd left their marriages, at least if they left them this year. And so the work that we did over the 6 months that we coached together was helping them build the life that they wanted, staying exactly where they were. And I've done that for lots of clients in the past. And then for those who are leaving, or, maybe their spouses decided to file for divorce or whatever the situation is, my beliefs really center around women advocating for themselves, which you would be surprised at how hard it is for women who have been conditioned to just serve, and give for decades, for a whole lifetime. How hard it is to advocate for yourself, especially when the other person is like, oh my God, you're hurting me. Yes, I know I cheated on you. And yes, I know I took all the money and gambled it away. Oh, but you're filing for the divorce. This is going to hurt me. And how easy it is for that kind of manipulation to happen, and have women ignoring their own well-being, ignoring what's best for them, and once again enabling the other person. So I really try to help women take a look at their own well-being throughout every point in the process. Whether he filed or they're filing, or even if it's a mutual agreement to separate, helping women truly take responsibility for their own selves, for themselves, without feeling like they're being mean, without feeling like they're being wicked, without feeling like they are hurting someone else, without feeling like there's something wrong with them. And then also being able to sift through the voices that they hear, because there's also all of the societal voices, mothers and family members and friends who will throw shade, religious voices. It's a lot. It's a lot. So that's what this is about. I'm going to be breaking all that down specifically for divorce throughout the month of January. I hope you will tune in to hear my thoughts and to kind of understand my approach to divorce, so that if you know someone who needs that, you can refer them to the podcast, and hopefully they can get some benefit out of it. All right, I'm going to let my voice rest now. Thank you guys for your time and attention. Thank you for hanging with me through 2025. It was a really interesting year in so many ways. But I think one of the things that has always been a joy and continues to be a joy is doing this work. Just every time I'm getting on a call with a client, or getting on a call with my group, or bringing out a podcast episode, or sharing my thoughts with you, it's just so meaningful and so purposeful. There's not a lot of opportunities to know that one is like truly making a difference. Sometimes you do things and you don't know if it's actually making a difference. This is one of those areas where I'm like, if this is all I do, I know I did make a difference. And so thank you to everyone who's written in and told me how this has helped you. For everyone who signed up as a client in 2025, I have just loved working with you. And I'm excited to see what 2026 brings for all of us. So thank you for tuning in to Your Extraordinary Life and Dating After Divorce. Look forward to serving you in 2026. Thanks for your time and attention. I will see you next time.
Thanks for listening today. If you are ready to get married after divorce, I want to invite you to download my free 8-video training specifically designed to help divorced women date with ease and get married again. Head over to shadecurry.com to get started. That's SADECURRY.com. I'll see you inside.